Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast. I'm Janey Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, welcome to Alcohol Free Life. I'm Janey Lee Grace. It is week 3 of lockdown, I think we're on week 3, and the podcast is a day late if you're someone who usually waits for the day it comes out, but that's because it's Easter, and also I had to remind you there, didn't I? And also because there was a bonus episode in the week. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that yet, do go back and listen to the bonus episode. I wanted to do a separate episode with Claire Pooley. She's author of the Sober Diaries, of course, but she now has this really fantastic debut novel. So it wasn't exactly a guest for the podcast because, you know, it's a regular novel, obviously. But I just loved the novel. Obviously, I love Claire's work anyway. She's responsible for me ditching the booze. And the Authenticity Project, the new novel, it's still relevant, I think, because it's kind of has these themes of kindness, compassion, and a sense of community. So it's the perfect lockdown read. And obviously, she has one character who's an addict, and so she draws from some of her own experience. It's such a great novel. If you want to listen to that interview, just go back and listen to that bonus episode. There's a little blog post as well on the Sober Club about Claire. So that was a kind of bonus episode, and then this one is just a little bit later. But I hope it's worth waiting for. Got a really interesting guest for you today. Now I recorded this interview a good long while ago, probably 5 weeks ago or something. So there is no mention whatsoever of lockdown, and not only that, there may even be reference to I can't actually remember, but we may well have referenced going to cafes, pubs, bars, sober meetups and stuff. So don't get too much of a shock if we mention that stuff, because I just wanted to bring you the interview as it was, because we have to think, play it forward, don't we? We have to think about happier times. Anyways, it's with Alex Norword Hill, the Sober Sommelier, and I thought it'd be a great time to just hear some of Alex's thoughts on great alcohol-free drinks. Just before we get into that, just a few things to share with you, really. I don't know how you're coping with all this. I'm really finding that it really massively varies. I mean, there's no doubt that these are unusual times for everyone, but I think there are some people who are coping really quite well. They, they're really able to kind of embrace the time, and they're able to knuckle down and do amazing things. And I know someone who's writing a book, and I know others who are, sort of gardening and baking and creating and really coping great during this period. And that's absolutely amazing. And some people are finding that it's enabling them to rethink their work and their business and actually prep for what might be a different future in terms of the work that they do. Then, of course, there are other people who are really absolutely in a mess right now and not coping well at all for all kinds of reasons. So I think, whatever situation you're in, it's okay. You've read this a lot of times now. It's okay not to be okay, because this is a crisis, isn't it? It's a crisis for everyone. And within, we talk a lot, don't we, about stress and how stress affects us. And of course, it's not stress. Our body experiences stress and fear and anxiety, and our body's reaction is, okay, well, we'll fight, flight, or freeze, because that's how we're programmed, that when fear comes in, we get ready to leg it, or whatever. But of course, it's not that kind of crisis. It's not that kind of fear. It's much more kind of insidious and we're uncertain. It's uncertainty. But we have to recognise that this is going on. We can't pretend it isn't. So our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind is really actually probably very confused as to what's going on right now, because that for most of us, particularly if you are allowing yourself to watch the news, hopefully not too often, but if you watch the television news or you listen to the news on the radio, it is all bad news and really makes you feel very, very fearful. And if you do too much of that, what can happen is, within your body, all of this kind of stress and fear is being chucked in, and there is no way to process this. There's nowhere for it to go. I've been reading online, actually. There's lots of people. I thought it was just me having really weird, very vivid dreams, but it seems it's very common at the moment, because I suppose that's one way our unconscious mind can process that there's something different is going on. So a lot of people are having vivid dreams. A lot of people are sleeping more, like a lot more. And of course, some of us don't feel motivated to do as much as we feel we ought to. And then that brings in the next problem, which is the kind of beating ourselves up for not doing as much as we should. I've been going through that recently, where I'm really conscious of all the stuff that needs doing, and the decluttering needs to be done, and there are areas in my home that really need a good old deep clean, and this should be done and that should be done. And can I motivate myself to do it? No, I can't. I read a fabulous post from Cheryl Richardson. She's a wonderful coach, Hay House author and coach. And she wrote a great post. Go to her site and have a look. I think she called it The Hero's Journey. It was a really fantastic blog post. But the essence of it is, despite you constantly telling yourself you need to wash the kitchen floor, actually, for some of us, what we need to do right now is go within. We need to look after our inner world. Yes, the outer world is important. Yes, how we're spending our time and making sure we get our exercise and eating good food. Of course, that's all important. But the inner world needs addressing as well. And as she says, I'm gonna. I forget her exact phrase, but something like, I'm going to heal my soul and the kitchen floor can wait. That was something like that. It was great. I found it so helpful. It kind of released me and made me feel, oh, thank goodness, it's not just me. And yes, the kitchen floor can wait. Certainly the deep cupboard cleans can wait. And actually, I do need to focus on my inner world sometimes. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. Well, I did say in one of my podcasts, I can't even remember which one, probably the one with Shah Wasmond, where Shah was talking about the importance of asking for help. I mean, she was referring generally, and she was referring to people who want to start a business and are changing the work that they do. But it's just so important right now, whatever is going on for you, ask for help if you need it. As we said in that podcast, when you ask others for help, it gives them permission to help you, gives them permission to ask others for help themselves, and they're able to perform that act of kindness for you, which actually makes them feel better. So, we know this now, but if you're still there thinking, oh yeah, but that doesn't apply to me, it does apply to you. I also sent an e-zine out, a newsletter out, where I was talking about memories as well, because of course, being Easter, Facebook chucks back memories, doesn't it? And Facebook threw back a memory of me and a friend at Morning Gloryville, and that was my first ever experience of a sober rave, and I was 100 days sober, or just over. This was 2 years ago, and all those memories came flooding back of just how I felt back then. I felt still a little bit shaky, because I'd only been sort of trying on my sober shoes for 100 days. So I still felt a little unsure. I wasn't totally settled. I was still trying to find a new way to be, a new way to have fun and to relate to people, and new ways to spend my time when I wasn't drinking, and my emotions were still all over the place. But the beautiful thing was that it felt incredibly positive, and I felt completely sure that I'd chosen this path and it was the right path. And it made me think that now, 2 years on, it's a bit like we're all we're being forced to try on our lockdown shoes, and but we don't really want to. It's not what we've chosen, and of course we're all following the rules, but there's a little part of us that feels very, very uncertain. So it's really difficult to settle in to a new normal that you haven't chosen. And I think, that's why it's okay to cut yourself some slack and allow yourself to do what you need to do. And if that's sleep a bit more, then do exactly that, and have a notebook by your bed and write your dreams down. they can be quite fascinating, I'm finding. Within the Sober Club, it's been amazing to have the support of that of our Facebook group, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. They're amazing, supportive people, and again, people are going through so many different things there. There's so many. There are people in the Sober Club who are just a couple of days sober, and there are people who are 4 or 5 years in, and the wealth of experience is amazing. And so obviously, if you want to think about joining us in the Sober Club, obviously you can cancel at any time. Have a look at it at soberclub.com. Right now, let me bring you this interview. You're going to love Alex. He's such a fun guy. And just a reminder again that this was recorded before any of this, was in place. So there may be some references. It's weird, isn't it? You can't even watch you watch a film or a TV series, and people are kind of going out for a coffee, and your unconscious mind says, "Well, that's weird." So as I say, we're all trying to get used to something new and different. But enjoy this interview, and you can kind of fast forward in your mind as to when you're going to be able to get out and enjoy some of these drinks. Of course, we can still buy alcohol-free drinks online. But Alex's story is fascinating too. So enjoy. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, really good. It was lovely to meet you at the Mindful Drinking Festival recently. And I thought, what a great person to interview. You've had some colourful stuff going down.
That's true. That's true.
Let's talk about the work that you're doing now.
Yes.
The drink that you're going to be producing very soon.
Yes.
But also let's just dip back in time and hear a bit about your story when things were a little bit different.
Okay, so
take us back.
Okay. Well, basically, I suppose like anything or anyone that's had issues with drinking, or there's always a kind of starting point, and but for me, it probably started when I was 13 to 15 in terms of actually using alcohol.
Yeah.
And I suppose, at school, various, just kind of following on from there, it was always around. So it was easily accessible, and it was just kind of the done thing. So I suppose from then really until about 3 years ago, alcohol had always been in my life. But I suppose you never really think it's a problem, because when you're in it, you can't see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really one of the most kind of poignant and I suppose a thing that is very hard to really assimilate and take on board, because you're effectively just going through life and thinking, right, okay, this is something that I use. This is something that is effectively, I'm regulating my emotions. I'm self-medicating. I'm using it, but you don't realize that, you think it's just for fun, or it's recreation, or it's what everyone else is doing. But actually what you're doing is you are filling a hole. You're dealing with emotional damage. It's effectively, it's like self-medication, but you don't see that when you're in it.
When did that start to crop up for you then? When did you first start thinking, this isn't quite right?
I would say probably there are a few episodes, but I think the thing for me is that I've always been I'd worked in the drinks industry when I left university. I was a Michelin-star mixologist. I'd always been a bon vivant. I love my wine, training under sommeliers at the canteen in Chelsea Harbour. But I think effectively what was tending to happen was that it was events and everything that in my life was kind of focused around drink. from an enjoyment point. It wasn't a case that, you know, I was thinking, oh, I want to get smashed. It's more like from an enjoyment, from a social thing. But I suppose there were times when they're kind of, I suppose, benders or, you know, situations, whether it's a rugby match or a cricket match or a stag do. But I have this thing where I don't necessarily get drunk, so I can carry on drinking and I don't actually get drunk. So I'd always be the last one standing, as it were, or I'd always be, you know, just the one who carried on and took it to that next level. And so I think that in the last 5 years, so I stopped drinking in 2017. The last 5 years, it just started to get acute, where the benders were getting closer to closer, and it was affecting my relationship. And there were just, you know, I actually, in one instance, actually drank to blackout, which I've never done before. You know, I stayed up watching the Super Bowl and polished off a bottle of Calvados, and then it's just like, next thing, my wife finds me, you know, passed out on the kitchen floor. So there were areas that flagged up, you know, situations that there were flags coming up. It's just like, you know, taking my family through the south of France, and, you know, sometimes I would get become quite angry or quite nasty and vicious. You know, it'd bring out a side of me, you know, that was very unpleasant. But I think also, you know, having the benders were getting closer and closer. It was affecting my relationship. I was actually choosing to do things away from my family that involved alcohol, you know, and recreational drugs. You know,
but if this was your work, I mean, there's another whole dimension there, isn't there, as well?
Yes. Well, the thing is, just to clarify,
expected of you.
Yes, true. But just to clarify, so basically, I was drinking and using recreational drugs through university, then carried on when I went into the restaurant trade and the drinks trade. Then I was working in corporate events and marketing in the late 90s. So that was more drinks and recreational drugs in London. And then in 2001, I got out and got into property, and I've been working in real estate ever since as my main line of income. I own my business. I have a successful estate agency in Kent. So that's my kind of bread and butter. And then my passion projects now is obviously Sober Sommelier and the drink that I'm producing. So it's kind of multifaceted entrepreneur thing going on. But there's no way I could do that if I wasn't sober. There's no way.
No, absolutely.
No, there's no way. There's no way I could, you know, be the way I function now. So basically, I had got out of the entertainment and hospitality, but in the same vein, working in property, being a bon vivant, you know, drink is prevalent everywhere, whether it's, you know, after work, whether it's sports, going to watch sports, whether it's any event, especially in a, you know, kind of when you're hanging out with, you know, other men, you know, doing kind of sports stuff, or, you know, cricket tours or that kind of thing. That the drink is prevalent, but it's everywhere. You know, every celebration, you know, in our society, everything is like, you're drinking, exactly. Fancy a drink, you know. Yeah. So for me, I was a bit like kind of the Peter Pan, you know. I didn't think I had a problem. I wasn't flagging up, you know, and I was kind of laughing it off, but it was affecting my relationship. It was affecting my work, my moods, you know. Monday to Wednesday, you could always find I was in a pretty bad mood. I mean, it's not an uncommon story of a lot of people who, you know, if I hadn't really had a rock bottom moment, I'd probably still be drinking. I feel very blessed that I had a rock bottom moment. You know, and I think people that don't have a rock bottom, in some way, I'm not saying everyone should have a rock bottom, and I did do a stint in AA, and there was the joke about some people are, you know, when did you realize you had a drink problem? And they say, oh, well, there's the lady who said, well, I started taking my library backs book late, you know. It's like, and then I realized I had a problem. And then there's someone, or you know, oh, my ride-on lawnmower wasn't working, so I hit the gym, you know. Or there's someone who's like, well, I spent six months in a skip, you know, and I just, you know, I was like homeless, and, you know, and so that there's a lot in between that, you know, about where is unhealthy relationship to alcohol. But I think only when you're in it, you don't see it. When you come out of it, you actually realize that we've been under this spell for over 2,000 years of this.
Absolutely.
You know, you know, the original kind of use of alcohol and wine, you know, if you go back to Roman times, or if you go back to Viking times, or the idea, or Greek times. A libation, like, it was more for celebration. It was for ritual practice. It was like spiritual and ritual practice for the gods, holding it up, and it was an honouring of the great, just like that they would do a sacrifice of a buffalo because that would given them life because they were eating, or a cow. It was very much an honouring thing, not let's get smashed, And I think the Romans,
every single day and twice a day,
and the Romans, vomitoriums and the whole idea of this kind of complete excess. The Romans kind of took that on, combined with the Vikings. And if you think what happened to England or the British Isles, we had the Vikings and the Romans just collide into the UK, which basically brought this hedonistic attitude and this complete bacchanalia attitude to alcohol, which is very, very intrinsically in our DNA as people on this island.
It's very true. I mean, we do drink very differently in the UK to other countries,
completely,
don't we?
Yeah, no, completely. And I think it's only when you come out you realise how intoxicating and how subtle it all is, and how it's ingrained. But for me, I did have an epiphany, as I mentioned to you before. I went out to Ibiza on a stag do. Ended up going on this incredible journey out to the island of Esvedra, which is supposed to have mythical powers. It's the third most magnetic point in the world. It's where Atlantis is supposed to be. It's energetically. I mean, I do quite a lot of meditation, and I'm quite kind of energetically minded, and even in my stupor I could still feel that was a very special place. And we weren't even on our boat trip supposed to be going there. We were supposed to be going to Formentera for lunch, and they said, no, we're taking you to Esvedra. And there was a bit of intrepidation, excitement as we got there. And when we got there, the boat driver said, look, we want, there was 12 of us on the boat. He said, look, we want you to touch the rock, and they're going to put the boat up against the rock. And I wasn't sure if they were just, taking the mic, or it was just a bit of a joke. But I said, well, why me? And he said, the rock wants your energy. I still don't know quite. I don't know still quite. And he was a local. I don't know quite, how it came about or why. But anyway, there's a video of actually the boat, this big kind of super speedboat. It's more like a Sunseeker, just bouncing up against the rock. And I was at the front, and then I kind of touched the rock. And it was really weird. It just felt like everything, that whole reason of being in Ibiza for that whole 6 days, was leading to this kind of Odyssean kind of Ulysses moment of like, just this. It was very, very strange. And I've since looked into it, and what they sometimes call it is a quantum change moment. Actually, Mandy from Mandy Loves Sober. Is it Mandy Loves Sober?
Mm-hmm.
Sober?
From Love Sober,
From Mandy from Love Sober. Yeah, she actually sent me a link to about quantum change moments, and there are people throughout history that have had them. And it's so, I got this message that I needed to stop, basically just to purify my body and stop it and change the I didn't really know what that meant, to change the vibration, change my life really. But I knew as soon as I touched that rock that's the message I got, and it was very clear.
You're absolutely right. I work with you may have heard me on the podcast before speak with Joe DeRosa, who runs Quantum Society, which is all about quantum change. So it's fascinating. But exactly what was the message you got then when you
the message I got was, you have to purify. You have to purify your body. You must stop intoxicating your body. You must. It's like for you. It was so clear. It was just like for you to receive the blessings of this life, for you to fulfill your destiny, for everything in this moment, you must stop poisoning yourself, both for alcohol and recreational drugs, to change effectively. And talking about we work on a vibrational field, as beings. We all have, a vibration. And the thing is, that when you're poisoning yourself, you're lowering your vibration.
Absolutely.
And I do practice Reiki, and I've done my Reiki too, and so working with chakras and energy healing. And so, whenever I used to go and see my Reiki healer, she'd say, I'm just patching you up. I'd go in there, so many toxins in my body. And she goes, I can't really work with your light body. I can just patch you up and give you a bit of energy. But, you can't do any work in terms of raising your energy and you kind of transforming and evolving. But now, since for 3 years of not drinking, it's totally different. We go in there, and it's the vibrational frequency and the energy that it happens in those Reiki sessions is just incredible, and the light that comes in and the experience. So it was a clear message. You've got to, I was going to kill myself if I carried on. That was certainly going to happen. My father died at 58 from alcoholism, effectively, alcohol-related illnesses, and I was going that way because that Peter Pan. Oh, I'm fine. I can carry on. So I think 45 was a very nice age to have stopped, because actually your body's just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I mean, I it's only in recent months that I've sort of really started thinking about the way that alcohol lowers your vibration. And it's so interesting because for so many years I was in complete denial, and I was that person talking about holistic health and well-being and spirituality and meditation and having sessions of Reiki and energy healing and aura chakra and everything, and recommending this stuff to other people. And oh my God, I just cringe now and I think back and I just realize it's like, how can I have been so blind to the thing that was massively lowering my vibration and making it so that I couldn't be authentic? Not really. I mean, I've always, it's fascinating to me actually that so many people carry on in this allegedly enlightened state, even working as meditation teachers and yoga teachers and all of this stuff, and yet they're caning the booze. I mean, I could never practice meditation in any way, shape or form. I used to talk about it to other people, but I couldn't do it at all. I couldn't show up for it. It was too uncomfortable to even show up for it. I now know why. I can see that now. I don't know, there's no question there. I'm just
yes.
kind of commenting. I find it fascinating, really.
Well, I think for me, and I think for all of us, what I'm really starting to understand about that moment was that what it felt like was that karmically it was like a reset. Okay, so it was like all the stuff that had happened in this life, and if you believe in past lives, all your past lives, it felt like it was giving me the chance to reset and not take all the baggage forwards. And I think the thing is, we're all on our path and on our journey as beings on this planet. Whichever way you can get into kind of some Russell Brand-esque philosophy about we are beings. What is our point? Do we have a soul? Do we have a light body, a physical body? However metaphysical you want to get it, it's proven that the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, I studied comparative religion at Manchester University. Ancient texts in Hinduism state that that within the smallest thing, okay, is energy. There's no such thing as a solid thing. Everything is energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. It's Om, Om Mani Padme Hum, or Om Nam Shivara. The first Om, the sound, is energy. And now quantum physics, 5,000 years later, proves that there's, within the smallest atom, or the quarks, there are moving parts. There's no solid thing in the center of an atom. So it's completely mirrored all the way through. So we are energetic beings, and energy cannot be destroyed. Therefore, if we tap into our higher energy levels, our higher vibration, and our true selves, then we will then discover where our true paths are. And the thing is, and we will start to kind of harmonize into our kind of true selves, as it were, and be in a place of peace and less anxiety, of comfort, that we're connected to this earth, connected to ourselves, and like you say, you can't be authentic with that if you're filling your body with toxins.
Yeah,
you just cannot, because it's almost like it's like bringing two pictures of yourself and bringing them and like on tracing paper over each other. But when your energy level is, and your physicality is lined up with your light body or your soul energy, they should mirror. But if you're poisoning yourself, or you're not being authentic, or you're not dealing with that stuff, then it's kind of like a picture of Dorian Gray. It will not, all that stuff, it won't marry, and you'll just be, there's two things conflicting, and that sets off the anxiety. So you're really in that anxious place, and then that's when we get into that vicious cycle where we think, right, now I need that comfort because I've had a really day of feeling anxious. I've had a shitty day at work. I'm going to smash a couple of bottles of Chardonnay, and that should really sort things out.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so subtle, the where that anxiety comes from. And until you start to pick away the layers, you just think, well, okay, I need a solution. And that's the solution is the booze, or the recreational drugs.
Sure.
And I think, a key thing I learned in my therapy, as I said, I had, when I got back from my Ibiza, I didn't know how I was going to start on my road to sobriety. And I was very lucky that a friend of my mum's works in the music industry, a guy called Chris Briggs, who's quite well known A&R. He looks after Robbie Williams. He's at Sony now, was at EMI, and said, "Oh, you need to go and see this chap. He's called Chip Summers." So, and that was such a shortcut because he's such a great therapist. And, and when we started to do the work, it's like, well, okay, if you take away the booze, you don't take away the damaged person, So it's just like the alcohol is not a symptom. It's a symptom. It's not the cause. So that was so fascinating because then it's like, well, let's do a kind of, we did a loose 12-step program, basically just saying, okay, well, let's look at what happened at the ages of step 4, the ages of 1 to 20. Oh, well, and it was very colourful, and there were lots of reasons. And it all became suddenly clear. It's like, oh my God, there's no wonder I was, using alcohol or using recreational drugs to regulate my emotion, because I was in a very unstable position, and there was lots of emotional roller coaster going on. When it was good, things were good. When they were bad, they were really bad. And that instability and that damage that was caused, emotional damage, there was a lot of kind of stuff that was going on at home that was the fallout was emotional damage, and I absorbed all of that. So and I was always the one trying to sort everything out and appease and make everyone happy, but inside there was a very unhappy person who found a way. And especially, what was great was working in the drinks industry or the restaurant. I could say, well, okay, I'm finding the best things to make myself feel better. The best wine, the best brandy, the best. So it was kind of like, well, this is just almost justifying it.
Well, and of course, because it is legal and because everyone else is doing it, it's the natural thing to do. How important do you think that those kind of therapy sessions were then? Because I think you're right. I think when people ditch the booze, they one thing that sometimes holds people back from even going down this path is that somewhere, perhaps at an unconscious level, they know that they are going to have to face stuff. And of course, people, depending on when you started drinking, I mean, as a lot of people started drinking, 14 years old. Depending on what age you are, that is a hell of a lot of years of being an adult, but not knowing how to deal with emotions in an adult way. We're very immature emotionally, many of us, because we've never had to deal with relationships or stress or anxiety or sex or anything apart from under the influence of a drug, and it's really scary when everything's exposed. So how important do you think it was for you to actually be able to work through that stuff with a therapist?
I think it was absolutely vital. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, I think everyone, going to therapy is a luxury and a blessing. I think anybody, no one should ever feel scared of going to doing therapy, because it's just it's an opportunity to discover who you are, to discover what makes you tick, to have a safe space where you're not dumping on your family or friends. You can actually, just it's a release valve. They should, and actually, when you actually then get to know yourself, then you become empowered, and you understand who you are, why you do things. It should be obligatory that everybody, as part of their university or when they leave school, that they should have a year's worth of therapy, because it's just so empowering, and you just understand what makes you tick, why you do things, who you are. I mean, the best analogy is like, if you have got issues on stuff that you've not dealt with. You know, it's like walking around the whole time like Imelda Marcos. You've got all this luggage and you're just shuffling this luggage around, and it doesn't make you very nimble or agile, and actually you can't get the luggage through doors, and you're taking it to work, and you take that luggage in every aspect of your life, your emotional life, your relationships, you know, just all the Louis Vuitton behind you, and it really so, or it might not be Louis Vuitton, it could be Samsonite, it doesn't matter. But the point is, Sober Sommelier always has Louis Vuitton, of course. No, I'm kidding. But so basically, the way I look at sleep therapy is you walk in with all the bags, okay, and you, in a safe space, you look in and see what's inside the bags. You take out everything. You're never going to lose the bags completely, but you take out, you unpack what's in there. And you go and you look at it and you hold it up and you say, well, that's why I do that. And this is what happened to me. And well, that's all right. And I forgive that person. Yeah. I'm going to let that go. Yeah. And you get out all the bags in the therapy room. And then after a period of time, you put it all back in, and you find that you went in with 6 bags, and now you've just got a little carry-on, a little shoulder bag. You're always going to have that bag.
Yeah, but now, and also you can challenge the bits that are no longer true. Those stories that we all carry, you know, we can challenge. Well, is that actually still true for me? No, I don't still need to be carrying that sentence that a teacher said to me in 1908 or whatever.
It's a reset. You burst the bubble, you burst the myths, and you're just left with a little shoulder bag of stuff that is important because that's what makes you are. But and during the process, you've forgiven people, you've understood what, you know, I did some great group therapy sessions with my mum and with other family members, with my wife, and it just having that safe space to work through things. No one should ever be afraid of it. It's the it's a blessing. It's the most wonderful, empowering thing. And you know, and what I will say, having done some AA, you know, when I was at my kind of darkest, you know, just my rock bottom, you know, AA was really good because it was just finding like-minded people. But I think for me, and I think as I've gone into the mindful drinking movement, and as I've, you know, found this whole fraternity, sisterhood, motherhood, you know, brotherhood of the sober family, effectively, like yourself, you know, who are an amazing group of people, inspirational, supportive. You know, AA is not for everyone, and I found the thing about AA is I think it's all about, you know, talking about energy. I think people can get into negative spirals with AA. It becomes a vortex of negativity, of misery, and codependency, and they don't realize it. It's an old AA was really designed, you know, pre-war in a different time. I don't think it's I'm not knocking anyone that goes there, and it's there, and it's a wonderful thing for people that use it, and I'm not knocking it. But for me, I just found that actually therapy was far more relevant, far more empowering, and giving me the tools, because I don't want to be dependent on going to AA for the rest of my life. I want to be dependent on me, knowing that I trust myself. I have a wonderful sober family of mindful drinkers who are looking out for me, who care, and a whole support system. But ultimately, the only real support system you have is yourself. And it's that relationship with yourself, and understanding who you are and your path and what your purpose is. And it is so amazing to be able to have the opportunity to discover who you are.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what you say is very true, and I also don't care which route people take. It really doesn't matter. But I think it's important to stress as well that, because there might be people who kind of think, actually my stuff is so big or so deep or so difficult that I'm just not ready to face it and to go there. And I think the interesting thing to say is, whatever it is, actually you become way more resilient when you're not drinking. So because, although I'm not saying that drinking alcohol causes mental health issues and depression and etc., it certainly exacerbates all of that
completely.
So when you are not drinking, I'm not trying to say the bad stuff hasn't still been there in your life, or maybe even still is, but you will over time develop a much more optimistic and positive approach, and find yourself stronger to be able to deal with whatever it is. And that's the bit that
Yes.
I didn't know about. I didn't know about that. That was what
Yeah.
was so amazing for me when I suddenly, because when you are drinking and then you have this sort of slight thought, oh, maybe I should give up. And then the very next thought will be, oh, my actual godfathers, how crap will that be? You know, I won't have any friends. Life is going to be so boring and terrible and I'll be miserable. And then, God forbid, I might have to face my problems without numbing them. And everything about that life sounds like a nightmare, doesn't it? Everything.
Completely.
It's only when you catch sight of the fact that, no, wait a minute, you won't have the anxiety levels to the same extent. You will have a sense of optimism and be able to go on and do the stuff you want to do. It's that's the beautiful thing, isn't it?
I think it's an absolute revelation. I think that for me, it's also one thing. You know, it is for me a spiritual thing as well, because you know it's a byproduct of this process. Is you actually feel things, you connect to things, you're open, you're not afraid. You know, yes, it takes time, and don't get me wrong, the first year, 2 years is challenging, because you are breaking down your indoctrination, you're breaking down, you're fighting the system, you're fighting everyone's you're challenging everybody else. You're a little disruptor, you're a little grenade in social situations. So now this is really where Sober Sommelier has come from, because I turn it into, well, I'm actually having the best time in the room, and I'm the one that's going to have I'm making the best drinks, I'm having the most fun, I'm the wittiest because I'm not pissed, I don't repeat myself, and I feel brilliant the next day. And everyone's just like, oh, and it's like, what, your skin, Alex, you look amazing. I'm like, I know. So what's happened to the yellow eyes, the floaty yellow eyes? You know, where are the pea holes in the snow? It's like, where'd they gone? Where's fat Alex gone? You know. Yeah. So for me, this is, and as you know, you're an inspiration, and we are. The whole point is, I want to, in my part of my journey, is to shine a light on that. This is a blessing. It's so much fun. The drinks are amazing. You can be the life and soul of the party. You can have the best time.
Absolutely.
And you can cope with life, and you can also support other people. You can be there for other people, and you can also be an inspiration to other people, and saying, actually, this is a spell. It's literally like Sleeping Beauty. It's literally like we have cast a spell over this land. It's like, you have to drink, you must drink, and also, not only that, it's completely backed up by the establishment and the lobby and the system. It's a complete conspiracy. Isn't it? I mean, even to the point that there was the thing where the pubs. There was this thing about that pubs, you have pubs that are free pubs, and you have pubs that are under
licenses,
and that they were saying it was unfair because those licensed pubs, they have to go to they can only buy their drink, and it's a complete, it's a bit of a cartel, so they can only buy the booze and the beer from the pub chains, and it was going to go through Parliament that actually they were going to allow them to be free houses and give them the opportunity, and suddenly out of nowhere, all these MPs were lobbied and it didn't happen. And it's just like, it's prevalent that, there's so much money and tax and the powers that be want this. But actually, you look at the NHS and you look at the damage alcohol does. I mean, you look.
Well, there's literally just been another new report out that shows that the NHS is literally being crippled by alcohol issues, and yet the funding for alcohol services has gone right down. So there's a real problem there. Problem. And that's before you even get onto mental health issues, of course.
Yes.
That's dealing completely with the liver disease and the heart disease and all the rest of it.
I think, and so, whichever way you look at it, okay, it is a massive issue, social issue, health issue, funding issue, but it destroys families, and it's a social disease that eats into families, but because it's legal, because it's acceptable, have another drink, it's a taboo in plain sight. it shouldn't, it's not a taboo, but it should be like, this is something that needs to be called out.
Yeah.
And it is being called out, but it's very, I think what's exciting now is that, the mindful drinking movement, the new kind of appetite for sobriety and sober lifestyle, and this new wave is now starting to happen within the drinks industry. So in a way, actually, I think culture is going to have to lead the way, as opposed to, because ultimately it's not going to be the big companies, it's not going to be the government, it's going to be people on the ground, and it's up to all of us to demonstrate the wonders
and younger
sobriety.
people, which is great, isn't it? A lot of younger people, a lot brighter than we were, and they're not caning it quite so much. But obviously for you, as someone whose life revolved around good, in inverted commas, drinks, what you drink now and what's on offer is going to be very important to you. And I'm guessing that obviously the jug of warm orange juice ain't going to cut it.
No, absolutely not.
So you must be delighted that there is such a movement in the sort of alcohol-free drinks world, and there's some amazing alternatives to spirits and beers and goodness knows what. But it's interesting with the alcohol-free wines.
Yes.
I'd be interested in your view on those, because that's harder to do. Am I right in thinking?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I do feel very blessed that I can, one, have a release for my passion for being an entertainer and hospitality and sharing wonderful drinks and making cocktails and have an outlet for that. And also that, it's a perfect storm, with the starting of this movement and the drinks. It starts off with brands like Seedlip, and then it's followed on by other great brands, Sense Spirits, Sea Arch, Gimber, great beers. Like suddenly, before it was only Beck's Blue, now you've got you've got some brilliant, you've got what's it called, the Brewdog,
and Fit Beer, and all of those, Nirvana, and it goes on.
I mean, so that's great, and it is exciting, and that's brilliant. But you're right, the great kind of holy grail and the great issue is food to eat with a meal. And
drink,
the thing is, you obviously had food with your meal. A drink to have with your meal, correct?
Yeah.
So and that is, because the thing is, it's so hard to make non-alcoholic wine, and all 90%, 95% of all the wines I've tasted I just don't cut it. And I think that the approach, until someone does come up with a really, there is a couple of good rosés. Rosé is slightly easier to do, and the Torres rosé is really good. Natrea, it's called. That's really good. So rosé, there are good rosés. I think that's okay. It's the whites and the reds that are just impossible, and they will. I think somewhere somehow is going to come at it from. Is going to think outside the box, a bit like they have with people like Ish Spirits have come up with, like, gins and rums. You think outside the box, and they'll come at a different angle, not trying to de-alcoholize it, not trying to make it in a traditional winemaking way. So I do think it will get there, but that is the missing link. So for me, I've just done my first pairing menu. It was for down at there's a place called Fairlight Hall, which is a beautiful house in East Sussex. It's a private house, but they do events there. And they did this wonderful detox yoga weekend for 12 people who, a lot of them flew in from Amsterdam and New York. It was a pretty amazing event. And they asked me to do a pairing menu. So I did my first ever pairing, and I just come from the Mindful Drinking Festival where I saw you. And so I had got a lot of new stock and new drinks that I tried. So basically, I did a 3 drinks when they arrived. One was a Cordus Spritz, my drink. I did a non-alcoholic mojito with Sensor and Ish and Gimber, and then the last one was a Acorn Negroni. So that was great. And then for the first course, so that was brilliant. So that was in the drawing room. Then they went in for dinner, and for the first course, I used a kombucha. So there's one that's come out called Boucher Kombucha or Butcher Kombucha. That was at the Mindful Drink. So, but it was beautifully done in a bottle that looks like a white wine bottle, and it it basically does the same job as white wine because it has the same kind of flavor notes, and it's quite sharp and it cuts across the food. And actually, and I was saying to people, treat this as you would a white wine with the first course. And so suddenly, the fact is, it's in a beautiful bottle. It was served in a beautiful crystal glass with a mushroom soup dish, and everyone. A few people were a bit like, out of 12, there were 2 people that weren't quite sold, but 10 out of 12 was pretty good. And I've started drinking that kombucha because it is light and it is like a white wine. So I'm not trying at this stage to replace the white wine. I'm just using something else, but it was enough to cut across the food. Then for the main course, we used really good. It's called Woodstar, which I think you know.
Oh yeah.
So basically, they look like red wines. They're in a bottle that's like a red wine, and they're created with a berry and botanical blend. And they've got the viscosity of wine, and it's a very grown up palate. So the flavor has that texture, but it's not a wine. So I did say to everyone, don't think of this as a wine, just think of this as a sophisticated, lovely drink to work with your food that will enhance the food and also make it a pleasant experience, because you don't want to drink beer with food. You don't want to, people are sick of, as you say, orange juice or fizzy drinks. So having something. And then with the cheese, we had 9 Elms.
9 Elms is great, isn't it?
Yes. So I love 9 Elms. I think they're doing great things. And at first I wasn't sure about it, but the more I have it with food, the more I think, oh, that's great. And it's in a lovely bottle. And I met the owner, and he's, he at the Mindful Drink Festival, he's lovely. I think it's Simon, isn't it?
Yeah, if you have it, if for a winter's day, if you have it like a mulled wine,
yes,
it's just perfect, isn't it?
It is. It's great. It's throwing some cloves, some orange and ginger.
Yeah.
So I think that, my recommendation to people, if they're saying, well, what do I have with food? I would look at kombuchas for your white wine, and I'd look at things like 9 Elms and Woodstar for your reds.
Great. And tell us more about the drink that you're developing then, the Cordus.
Yes. So basically, Cordus, the name Cordus comes from the 16th century, basically botanist and pharmacist called Valerius Cordus. It's in his honor because the main ingredient is the gentian root. So it's a gentian extract that's mixed with various hand-picked bitters and botanicals. So it has quite a syrupy. There is a little bit of sugar, not a huge amount, but enough to give it viscosity. A bit like Gimba. Gimba has viscosity because it's got it's a syrup effectively. So that's the same with Cordus, and so that mimics the viscosity in the mouth. So it's basically it's a bit like. What's lovely about Cordus is that and it can be drunk with tonic, or it can be drunk with non-alcoholic sparkling wine, a bit like wildlife botanicals. So you can have like an Aperol spritz drink with some ice in a nice wine glass with some fresh grapefruit, pink grapefruit, or you can have it with gin and tonic at 6 o'clock. So it's a 6 o'clock drink. And the whole thing about it is for me, this is why I've created it, is I wanted the ritual, and I wanted a drink that actually hit me in the mouth like it used to when I would get home and have a double or triple vodka tonic or a gin and tonic. And while I love a lot of the non-alt gins and the they're amazing, but a lot of them don't. They are, because they're distillated water. They're very thin. And the viscosity in the mouth, it's like, yes, you get the flavour, but you haven't got the viscosity. So that was the mission for me. And it's, discovering, we have a little house in France, my wife and I, it's our family house that has been handed down in the hills near the Auvergne. It's in the Lozère, the Gorge du Tarn region. And there are a lot of drinks there that use the gentian root. And that's where I discovered it. So, I'd like to think, within 4 to 6 months, you'll be able to buy it. But at the
amazing.
moment, I'm producing it at Frogsole Farm in Kent. So the feedback I have is great, and for me, it's what's also great about it is it goes really well with all your favourite, non-alcoholic gins or distilled spirits like Seedlip or Sea Arch or what have you. So,
yeah, definitely.
So, it's
amazing.
been a good.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the pairing menu and all of that just sounds great. And you're so right. So much of this is the sort of ritual of having a lovely drink, and because
Completely.
most of us, even when we were drinking, we wouldn't
Yes.
we wouldn't have wanted. If you'd have offered me, however desperate in inverted commas I was for a drink, if you'd have offered me a plastic cup with some warm white wine, even I would have said no thanks.
Yeah.
Partly it's the ritual that goes with it, isn't it? I just want to finish with just asking you one question, which is why, in God's name, it really annoys me, do glasses have to be named because of the liquid that goes in them? It really annoys me. Is there any way we can stop calling them wine glasses?
I know.
I want my water in a nice glass, but I have to ask for a wine glass. It's so annoying, isn't it?
It's my biggest bugbear.
Is it?
My biggest bugbear is glasses. I am the most difficult person in restaurants and bars. I go in and they have to get out all their glasses, and I say, no, because actually
it's really important.
I have these. Was given by my step grandfather these beautiful glasses, single stem champagne glasses from Venice, and you can put the cheapest prosecco in that glass, and you think you're drinking Krug, or obviously I'm not drinking that anymore. I'm drinking Wildlife Botanicals or whatever, or sparkling non-alcoholic sparkling wine. But the glassware is everything, and this is the whole thing about this effectively Sober Sommelier and Cordus the drink is. In my life, I want to have a kind of those the wonderful experiences of hospitality, of food, of drinks, and having my own drinks when I get home is such a pleasure. I feel like I've earned it. It tastes delicious. All my family are converted to Cordus now. Everyone I know who's had Cordus drinks it, and it's just like, actually what you want. I don't want a health drink. I don't want a crap drink. I just want a good drink. I want a nice glass. In a nice glass, exactly. And to feel, and then also when you're out, and you've got this wonderful drink, and everyone else has got the drink that makes them happy. No one's asking you, "Oh, what are you drinking? Or why are you drinking? Oh, yeah, what's up with you? Don't feel like drinking. Are you all right?"
I know.
All that nonsense.
I remember hearing somebody. It was actually on an American podcast where, of course, they aren't quite as far ahead as we are in the States, bizarrely. And he was saying that he'd gone out to some very posh event, and everyone was served. Their champagne in champagne glasses, and he sort of spoke to the whoever it was and said, well, actually, can I have something non-alcoholic? And they said, yes, of course, we'll make something for you. So they made up a mocktail for him, and then it was served in the most ridiculous sort of children's glass with God knows how many sweets coming out of it. And it's like, really? Draw attention to me, why don't you?
I know. It's crazy.
It's incredible. Anyways, it's been amazing to talk to you, and I can't wait for your drink to be available. It's very exciting. Give us your website then, where people can find out more about the work that you do.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. So for Cordus, you can go to cordusdrinks.com. And for Sober Sommelier, which is where we're reviewing drinks and doing events and telling everyone about amazing drinks, not just Cordus, you can go to sobersommelier.co.uk.
Alex, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, Janey. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Sober Sommelier. Don't forget, you can still buy alcohol-free drinks. Places like Wise Bartender are still trading, and Dry Drinker, and loads of the independent brands that we love here on the podcast. Brands like Sea Arch, all of these great brands. Lots of great kombucha brands, Busha, Binary Drinks. They're selling online. There's a whole bunch of great drinks brands that we can buy online. It really does come back to that thing of keep the ritual, change the ingredients. I keep saying that. It feels so important right now. And if someone was saying to me just recently that they had been caught completely off guard because during lockdown it's that weird thing of think times are different, aren't they, so have a drink now. and people who haven't drunk for years or months or years suddenly find themselves thinking, everything's completely changed, these are unusual times, maybe I should have a drink. And if that is going on for you, really seriously, prep in advance. Do your whoop. You know, we've spoken about this a lot. Your whoop is what's your wish? What's the outcome you want? What's the obstacle that's going to hit you? And what is your plan? There was someone in the Sober Club who suddenly was offered a drink she wouldn't even normally have by a family member, a brandy or something, you know, because these are unusual times, and it can really catch you off guard. So you've got to really prep what is going to happen for you, and make sure that you've got what it is you want, so that you don't create any kind of fuss or upset anybody else. You just can stick to what, you know, it's non-negotiable. Your sobriety is non-negotiable. So keep the ritual, change the ingredients. Yes, you can have a nice drink in an evening or after dinner. Of course you can, but make sure that it's something you've chosen, and it doesn't contain alcohol. And thank goodness, you know, we have such an incredible choice, and there are people like Alex whose whole lives kind of revolve around amazing food and amazing drinks, and all of that is 100% possible without bringing alcohol into the equation. It's pretty cool. I've got some great guests lined up for you. I didn't mean to say, by the way, that in addition to the bonus episode of the podcast, also currently airing on UK Health Radio is the interview that I did with Dr. Sarah Myhill. She's an ecological medicine doctor. In not so many words, that means she takes a holistic approach. And she is talking to me on this interview all about the importance of boosting immunity right now. She talks so much common sense. She talks about high levels, taking high levels of vitamin C and the importance of that, and old-fashioned stuff like iodine. Who's even heard that word in years? Other than perhaps your granny might have said it to you, I don't know. But it's we forget about things like iodine, and yet it's going to be better than any hand sanitizer you'll ever find. So she talks about all of this stuff. It's a really fascinating interview. And also there's a clip with Jonathan Cavan from the Milestone Detox, who is talking about how to make your own liposomal vitamin C. So if you go to imperfectlynatural.com, you can see the blog post and the link there, or you can go straight to UK Health Radio and listen to my show. Just type in presenters Janey Lee Grace, and you'll find that show. I think you'll find it really fascinating. Coming up in the next few weeks, I've got so many great guests lined up for you. It's just case of which order to bring them to you, and of course I'm interviewing new people all the time. I'm super pleased that I've made contact with Dr. Eric Sigman, who is just such an incredible guy, and does an author and does a lot of work around issues around sort of mental health and well-being and teenagers as well. He wrote a fantastic book called Alcohol Nation some years ago. Just an incredible book, actually. Now, when I think back to the fact that I read that book and heard Eric Sigman speak, and I remember back and I think, wow, actually I remember now that I really took on board everything he was saying about alcohol, but I was only thinking about it in terms of my kids and my teenagers, because one of the things he talks about is the fact that, you know, in the US, they've got it right that you know, the legal age to drink, well, certainly in bars, is 21. And he was saying that's absolutely right, because your brain isn't fully formed till then. So, you know, don't start drinking at 14 and 15 and 16, whatever. And so he had some great sort of ways of reasoning around encouraging children and teenagers not to drink. But at the time, I didn't think that any of it applied to me. I thought, oh, well, I'm over 21, so, you know, I'm good. It's funny, isn't it? Looking back at how I managed to shoo away that nasty fly, you know, that kind of that thought that might have said, oh, actually, maybe you should just look at your own drinking. No, I won't be doing that for a few years. But ultimate gratitude that it happened in the end. Whatever stage you're at, please do feel included in these conversations. I am never judgmental, because I've been there, done it. I've got the T-shirt. Please reach out if you're struggling. If you're listening to these podcasts, or perhaps you look at some of my posts or whatever, and some of my blog posts, maybe you're thinking, oh, it's okay for you lot. You can do it. I can't do it. I can't get sober. Trust me, you can. Trust me, you can. Reach out for help, and you'll get there. I don't know if I should say Happy Easter. I guess Happy Easter. Stay as positive and as upbeat as you can, and please check out the Sober Club. And I'll see you for another podcast same time next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast with Janey Lee Grace. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, rate us, share on social media, and tune in again.